Hello everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Pigskin Preview. Danny Daniels along with David Johnson, and some big games coming up this week. Everybody, or just about everybody in the region schedule right now. And David, I guess the first one we need to start with is Monroe area and Lanier, two undefeated football teams.
Yeah, and I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. I'm going to say this one is for the Region A Quad A Championship.
Could be.
Sounds crazy. Team Lanier is a second varsity season. What are they doing competing for a region championship? But last year, their first varsity season, they were pretty darn good. They came in at 5-5. Really gave Monroe one of their best games of anybody last year. They come in at 4-0 this year. They're scoring in bunches. They're not giving up any points. This is a good team, and this is really, I think, going to be Monroe's first real test of the season, and maybe their biggest test of the season.
I don't know what kind of athletes Lanier's going to have, but Monroe has not come up against a team with the speed they have. You think they're going to see that Friday night?
I think they're going to just see a real disciplined team. I think this team has good size. They're fundamentally sound. They're balanced. So, this is a team that's not going to do anything to beat itself. I don't think Monroe can count on a lot of turnovers, penalties, those kind of things. It's just a real solid, disciplined team. So, it's going to be interesting, when it's halftime and it's not 48-0, when it's, 21-14 or 7-0, at a seat. And suddenly Monroe has to go into the locker room and they have to scheme and they have to, plan for the second half rather than just deciding, okay, which subs are going to go in and win in the third quarter. So this is going to be it's going to be a real test for the Hurricanes this week, I think.
Monroe has not had that game where they had a lot of turnovers, and this is a team that they're going to have to hang on to the football, and if they don't, that's the kind of game we can expect is a close one, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be a close one, even if they hang on to the ball. I just really think I'm impressed with this team. I think, not thinking Monroe's going to lose, but I think they are going to be tested in it, and they haven't been so far. So you just don't know how a team's going to react when suddenly the second half, it's still a game. They really haven't had that so far this year. So it's going to be interesting. I think this will tell us a lot about the Hurricanes after this week.
I think maybe this week experience is going to be a really big factor in the ball game. These kids, the seniors, the skill players have been in big ball games before. They're going to be playing at home, so that's got to help them.
Oh yeah, getting to play at home, and they've been there, done that. A lot of seniors, a senior-heavy team, so yeah, that's going to be a big factor for them, I think.
All right, Loganville's going to try to bounce back from what turned out to be an awful night last Friday night at homecoming against Flowery Branch, where they fell way behind in halftime. But they can get well this week against Cedar Shoals.
And they need to. And it's not, they really have to win this if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive at all. I know it's still early. It's only the third region game of the year out of 8. But yeah, they need this not just for that, but just for their own psyche. You go out and it's 48-0 at half last weekend. Yeah. That's just got to just blow you away mentally. And so they need to come out and win this. Forget the playoff situation, just to feel better about themselves and to kind of salvage the season, I think.
And I know Flowery Branch probably lost some focus with that big halftime lead, but Loganville came out and their most impressive drive, just about their only drive of the night, came on their first possession in the third quarter when they drove it 80-some yards and scored a touchdown. That's kind of intensity they're going to have.
Yeah, they need to put together a complete game. Unlike falling behind early and then just kind of playing to catch up. They need a complete game. And they just need a win. They need to, they'll have everybody together. I know last week was the first time I think they'd had their starters in there, their running backs and their complete skill sets. Hopefully this week they can turn around. Cedar Shoals is coming in at 0-4, pretty stinking record. But if you look at how they've done, they took Heritage to overtime last week, who's considered one of the top contenders, and they just played a lot better than their record shows. So just because they're 0-4 doesn't mean they're going to be a pushover.
And they played Flowery Branch like 34-27.
Yeah, they played them within a couple of touchdowns too. So they've played two of the tougher teams in the league, and they've played them tight. So even though they're 0-4, they're a better team than that shows.
All right. Also in that region, Walnut Grove's going to head north to Dahlonega to take on Lumpkin County. This is very winnable for the Warriors.
Yeah, I think they can get their first region win against a team not named Johnson of Gainesville. So far, that's their two region wins they've had in their program's history. yeah, this is a team that Lumpkin, we saw them last week against Monroe. They're down. They're really having a down year. And, Walnut Grove is showing some signs here. I mean, they're offensively, they're starting to click a little bit. Their problem is just turnovers and penalties. They're moving the ball, getting close, and then turnovers or some, crazy penalty that's just shooting themselves in the foot. But if this team can cut those things out, I think they can win this week and maybe surprise some people down the road.
Lumpkin County has really fallen in the last couple of years. 2 years ago, maybe it was 3 years ago, they were battling Monroe area for a region championship, a sub-region championship back then. So Lumpkin 0-4, and I don't know what's happened up there, but they're having problems.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not that familiar with what they've lost or redistricting or what's happened to them, or but yeah, they're clearly down right now, and Walnut Grove needs to take advantage. Certainly a lot of teams have taken advantage of them when they've been down, so this is a chance. I think one of those rare occasions. I think Walnut Grove actually goes into this one maybe somewhat of a favorite.
All right, that'll be in Dahlonega on Friday night. Social Circle's got to go north also to Raven County against an undefeated the Indians, Towns County Wildcats, Raven County Wildcats. But they come in here 4-0. Social Circle still looking to try to score a touchdown and get some offense.
Yeah, it's funny because Social Circle, you look on the schedule and you look at the teams they're going against and you think, okay, they've got a chance here because that program's down. Well, last week, the team they went against had been down until this year. They won that game unbeaten. Well, here we go again. Going into Raven County, a team the previous 5 years won 7 games. Up until 2 years ago, suddenly they hired Lee Shaw, the coach at Flowery Branch. Had been at Flowery Branch for about 10 years, built a powerhouse there. Of course, he's the father of the South Carolina coach, Connor Shaw. Mm-hmm. And he goes for just up and moves, leaves Flowery Branch after all these years, moves to this downtrodden program at Raven County. Suddenly last year they make the playoffs. This year they come in at 3-0. This is a team that's really coaching makes a difference. This guy has come in and totally turned this program around, and that's what Social Circle is going to go face Friday night. I feel bad for him. It's going to be tough.
All right, speaking of coaching making a difference, Steve Savage not at Commerce anymore. That's where George Walton goes on Friday night.
Yeah, and this is interesting, kind of little trivia or interesting irony here that Coach Savage had been at Commerce for 20-something years, built a real powerhouse there. His last home game is after he was retiring, he lost to George Walton. Well, George Walton's going up there again this Friday night and could hand their new coach his first home loss. Commerce is, formerly a really traditional powerhouse. Used to really dominate Class A and Double A. Just not that way anymore. They've really struggled. They seem to be getting back on their feet, but just not quite the powerhouse they used to be.
All right, and they moved their games back to 7:30 when Savage retired, didn't they?
Right, yeah.
They used to kick off at 8 o'clock. It'd mess us all up every year. LCA's off on Friday night. They're on fall break, so be sure and get out and see a high school football game on Friday night. Next week, just about everybody's off. I think only George Walton and Social Circle play next Friday night, so we'll try to get a coach in here to talk to join David and me for next time. We'll see you then.